Scott. Hey, Jamie. How you doing, buddy?
Hey Andy, I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Doing great. Glad to be back in here. The market, even though it's kind of still kind of in this, what do you call it, the clump?
Yeah,
Got some interesting. Go
that's the
ahead.
clump range. That's the
Oh,
clump range. The Clinton Trump range,
yeah.
which we will more than likely be in until the what's this thing that's going on right now? Oh yeah, it's an election. Until the election is over with, there's no guarantee we're going to stay in the clump range, but that's the way it sure seems right now. And of course, I'm sure you're going to show everybody what the clump range looks like. It just
Oh
keeps getting
yeah,
clumpier and
absolutely.
clumpier as the days go by.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that, and we'll also have some other things to talk about, and yeah, we'll move on. Let's first take care of the legal business here, and let me move on to this, guys. You know, we are education providers here. We're content providers. We're training providers. We provide a lot of things here. We provide also some great alerts. We also provide some artificial intelligence for you. But none of you, what you see or hear today, should be construed as investment advice, guys. If you seek that, please seek an RIA or a registered broker. Okay, but we're going to have some fun in here and talk about some cool stuff. Uh, and before we do, I just want to remind everybody about our support in education, and I could add training up there at the top too, because we have a lot of it that goes on here for you guys that are kind of straddling the fence and kicking the tires, whatever have you. I just want you to know that we don't give you this incredible, powerful software and just leave you hanging. Okay, it's not what we do here. We provide just tons of support and education. And it starts in the trading room. That's a live daily trading room that goes on for like 7 hours a day. Barry opens it up about 30 minutes before the bell rings, talks about the pre-market and looks over the stocks potentially in play, and then throughout the day you're watching our powerful software, and he's navigating and negotiating the market, and boy, we've had so much great feedback. So if you're not in there, you really need to get in there. And then we don't stop there, guys. For there's webinars, as you can see there on the left side of the panel, that's throughout the week, all starting with Jamie and Steve. On Monday, you got Dan and Brad on Wednesday, along with Steve coming back with myself on Wednesday evening to do the Trade of the Week webinar, and then me and Jamie today. So between the guys you see on there, probably well over 100 years of experience trading, and boy, just multiply that times 13, each guy up times 13 to get the years of with the software. So there's so much support in education here, guys, that you will not feel like you're just being left out there, flapping in the wind. So let's get on with the agenda of today. Okay, we're going to talk about, but before I do not want to forget the one-on-one hour of power. Okay, because what this is, it's me, Jamie, or Steve. Once you subscribe to Trade Ideas, okay, it all starts right here, and you get you sign up for your one-on-one hour of power training. It's 1 hour with us, probably using GoToAssist or whatever desktop sharing we want to use at the time, depending on where you are. But we will take you through the software. We will help you building alerts. We'll help you building your layout. We will give advice on trading and chart reading, anything, any way you want to take it. But you will definitely get your money's worth, as we've gotten great feedback on this as well. So be sure to sign up for that once you subscribe. Our agenda for today, we're going to go over the market recap as we always do, okay? And then we're going to jump into what I'm seeing. Even though we're kind of still in the clump range, I'm definitely seeing some red flags now, and I'm going to discuss that. Talk about the amount of shorts she's putting on lately, the strategies that are working, failed breakouts I'm noticing on a lot of the charts. And then, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it again. We had some incredible directional bias today from Holly. We are going to spend a lot of time on Holly today, guys, and I know you guys like to see the custom alerts that we do, and we always share them, about once a week in here with But boy, there's just so much to discuss with Holly recently. I really want to spend some time on that because you really, if you're not paying attention to her, you need to start because I'm really seeing some magic. Today, don't you agree, Jamie? I mean, today is probably one of the most difficult types of markets for a trader. The gap up and then bleed off, gap and crap, some people want to call it. But boy, Holly was pointing the direction. She was the light in front of your feet on a dark path. She was. It was amazing, and we're going to talk about that. And that, of course, that's going to lead right into the Holly recap. I'll turn it over to Jamie so he can point out 2 or 3, 4 or 5 stocks and just that were really great trades by Holly. And then if we have time, we will do some Q&A and some charting for you guys. But with that said, let's pull this down and go into the market here. Let's pull up the old spiders.
Yeah, and while you're getting that pulled up, Andy, I'll just add this.
Sure.
And that is, I heard a tremendous amount of people, in the social media space, Twitter feeds and whatnot, just talking about how choppy and difficult a day it was in the market today and how buying the pullbacks was not working. And then at the same time, I'm seeing Holly pretty much set that directional bias and start loading the boat short and then producing just some, for today's type of action, the results that Holly put in today is simply breathtaking. And it's good that all of you are here today because this is going to be a classic example of trading with statistical probability on your side.
Absolutely. I was so really impressed with her day today, and boy, was it Wednesday? She finished like up. It was up over $8 on a day like this. So when you start seeing action like that, I don't care who's doing the trading. That's incredible because I think everybody will agree with me. These can be the toughest days to trade, the gap ups, and because typically most traders are leaning toward the buy side. And you know what? I'm going to save that till after we talk about the spiders.
Sure.
Might as well not get ahead of ourselves here. But yeah, here's the market we had today. Now the reason my little orange line here is a little bit higher. I know this 212. I could probably draw another one, put another one right there, and I will. But the reason I think that line above that is important is because that is the 2015 high. So
right.
I've noticed we've been trying, the bulls have been trying to keep pushing this thing back above, and hold it above there. So I think that's a critical level right there, even though it's kind of in the middle of all these candles. If you go back and look at the 2015 high, you're going to see this corresponds pretty much dead even with it. So I think it's a good level to watch. I think the bulls would like to maintain that high if they can, and then of course 212.50 has been a pretty big number too. In 2016, it's been a tough level to get through, but nonetheless, yeah, we're still kind of in this range. I'm getting a little more nervous as far as the bulls, just because a lot of the stuff I've been noticing lately, ever since we kind of pegged it on this day right here, when we started seeing red flags from Holly, and that was the day she put on about 27 top-end formations, but and then some other alerts that I watch, that and of course Holly, and we'll talk about that, but. We're still kind of in this range, so I'm not going to go on like we do in pretty much in every webinar and talk about this because, I think we really need to break this 212.50 area and stay below it, for a few days, less than one day, of course. And really, we didn't even stay below it that day. We bounced up right here, just above the two. So you break 212.50, and you stay there for 2 or 3 days. There's definitely some weakness that can come in this market, and it could come, pretty swift, depending on when it comes. But sometimes I believe, Jamie, it's going to take I don't want to say a black swan, but it's going to take a pretty big news event. It seems like to take this market down, and.
It is, and therefore, unless that event happens, which hopefully we don't have anything like that on the horizon, but you never know. So what does that mean? That just means we're going to clump along in the clump range.
Mm-hmm.
until that magic day has come and gone, and the world can get back to quote unquote normalcy, and the
Yep.
markets hopefully can resume their business as well.
Yeah, we very well could. I'm just not seeing, like I said in the past few webinars, I'm not seeing the enthusiasm, it seems, to the upside every time we seem to sell off and bounce. And typically, I can remember after a day like this where you try to break these lows and pop back up, they're usually followed by 2 or 3 strong days. This day right here, a gap up, didn't amount to much, rolled back over. So definitely not seeing that enthusiasm to the upside, but at the same time, hey, our important levels, the bulls could argue, are holding. So let's move on from there, and let me pull back up the little presentation, and we will move on forward. Now we're going to talk some more about red flags, guys. And what I'm talking about, noticed here's the breakdown, and actually I ran out of room here. She put on a lot of trades this day, but this was the Wednesday. You can see on the date there, the 25th. I'm sorry, Tuesday. I'm sorry, the 25th, where Holly, the market opened up, and Holly, pretty much throughout the whole day was just going, a lot of shorts, and it's not like the market was falling out of bed, and the market hasn't really fallen out of bed any recently, but I'm really noticing a huge amount of shorts, which means, even though the market may be hanging in there, and who knows why, but you're seeing a lot of deterioration in individual stocks. Thus, the fact Holly's seeing a lot of these waiting on the 8s, knocking on resistance, downward momentum, waiting on the 8. And I go to today. And same thing, there is a few longs scattered in there, but if I even pull this back lower, like I said, I ran out of space when I was print screening here, but we will go over the numbers, and you'll see there were many more alerts trades to the short side by Holly, and once again, you're seeing a lot of the same ones, the downward momentum, cuts like a knife, wait for the 8. So, and today, you did have the gap up, and one could argue that it was a pretty good move to the downside, and it was, but for the most part, the averages didn't finish down all that much. So but I'm still seeing it telling me there's a lot of deterioration in individual stocks when I see Holly, who bases all her trade on statistical analysis and all her optimizing and the night before, and then comes out with today. We'll go over them, Jamie, but I think it was probably more long strategies and shorts, right?
That is certainly true.
Yeah.
We had a total of 14 strategies. 8 of those were long and 6 were short.
Okay, so there you go. And yet, we a lot of the shorts are firing, and a lot of it is of course due to the gap of today. Probably it didn't help the longs, but nonetheless, I am seeing a huge amount of shorts, being put on by Holly. And I've noticed not only the shorts, and I'll talk about this in a minute today, I'm noticing a lot of the strategies. And I'm not going to pull back up. I'll let Jamie show you that when I turn it back over to him. But this is the things I want you to notice, guys. When you notice, keep an eye on those winning percentages and those profit factors. We'll take a look at Sunrise Mover today, who shot about 4 of them out at the open, and luckily she had profit save on and scalped them beautifully because most of them rolled over. And notice the ones like wait for the 8.
Unmuted.
Downward momentum. When you start seeing those winning percentages creeping higher and higher, and profit factors creeping higher and higher, and the market still feels like it's just kind of churning here, that may be a sign that red flags that you're seeing some serious deterioration inside the market, even though you're not seeing it in the overall averages. So just something to keep an eye on, guys, because it can, some of you people come in here and you're swing traders. I think Holly could do you wonders, just by watching some of her directional bias and which way she's going, and watching some of these alerts and getting a feel of what's really happening in other than the underlying S&Ps and Qs and IWMs. But let's talk about what she did today, guys, because this directional bias thing is I know Steve's talked about it a couple of times. I think I've talked about it once, but let's focus on this morning. And before I do that, let's pull up I'm going to pull back up the spiders and take a look at this morning, and I will let me do a 15-minute chart. It makes it a little bit easier. And let's take a look at the market here in the morning. Okay, we had the gap up this morning, pretty decent gap up, and the first 15-minute bar, basically straight down, filled the gap from yesterday. I don't have any pre-market on here. And then we move over, and then we put in a little kind of hammer here in the next 15-minute bar. Okay, so now we're at the top of the hour. I know a lot of, buy-side traders, people that love to go long, are looking at this saying, oh, great, man, I missed all this pain. Now we filled the gap. I'm getting long. I'm getting long. And trust me, I do this myself a lot of times. But just keep in mind, guys, yeah, this is, on my chart, you're going to see it's the 9 o'clock bar right here, and because I am on Central Time. But when I pull back up, let's see here. Yeah, she's putting on short. So if you look here at the time, guys, right around, actually, I gotta go back here. Yeah, directional bias. So right around 9 o'clock, she starts to fire off a series of shorts. She did have one long in there at 9:02, but you can see here at 9:01 a short, 9:08 a short, 9:09 a short, 9:10 a short, 9:30. You get the picture here. About every minute or something, she fires off a short after short after short. Remember, this was right after the hammer, and where a lot of people are thinking, hey, we filled the gap, man. Now I'm thinking long. Well, Holly, you got to remember what she does, guys. She crunches these numbers over and over and over at night, and when she starts spitting out a lot of shorts right here, that should be your first warning sign. So when we talk about directional bias, she has the numbers that says, wait, don't go not so fast on the long side. That's not what I'm getting here. I'm seeing short setup. I'm seeing short setup. So I want you to keep this in mind. I mean, is she going to be wrong sometimes? Absolutely. Lately, she's been a lot more right than she's been wrong, that's for sure. But this is a way that you can use, even if you're not taking these individual trades, where you can use Holly as a kind of a barometer of what's really going on in the market. What could potentially be happening in the market. Because I know there's a lot of traders on that pullback are getting long, thinking long. Well, Holly's telling you, no, not the stats that I'm reading. No, they're telling me, no, it's time to get short. Even after that huge red bar down, fill in the gap, I'm telling you, it's best to be short. Well, let's move forward because, as I showed you and you just saw, we did have another pretty big green, red bar down on the 15-minute candle in the spiders. And a little bit later, she starts actually adding to her shorts. And here at 9:21, 9:25, 9:20. So she's saying, you know what, we're not done yet, So she's actually adding to these shorts, and you don't see any longs there. So that's if you look at Holly's performance, why would you want to argue with this? We show you the performance. I wish I'd have shown it today before we started. Her performance versus S&P this year. And when I see a performance chart like that, and then I see Holly spitting out this, I'm not one to argue with her, by no means. Now, she will not be right every time, but her statistical analysis tells me, you know what, I'm better off not getting long here. No one's saying you have to get short, but maybe you want to sit on your hands, wait for a better opportunity, because let's see what ensued. I'm not going to go back to the market, but we did go down lower, and then we eventually kind of bounced, and Holly used her profit save like she's trained to do, and got out of all of her trades. And well, I did pull up a bar. So this was the spiders this morning, and this is the 5-minute chart. So, and this is when I think she started probably putting on some more, and she did get a little bit further, down here. And at the end of the day, the risk off, and you can see actually risk on actually crept up just because some of the other ones fell out of bed really nicely, and we're going to show you those. But what an incredible histogram right here. just basically starting out the day, up, may have gotten close to the flat line, and just a nice trend all day. And of course, here's where she stops putting on trades. She's done for the day. She's not seeing any statistical advantage at this point, and she is pretty much done. But to be up $3.18 on a market that anybody would have a hard time, trading. And like I said, Jamie will probably pull out this big screen of the long list of trades that she made and show you all the profit on each trade. There was not very many losses today, and that just tells me we're really, we're really feeding her some good strategies, and she's really learning, and she's optimizing, and she's learning more and more, and getting better and better, and we're so excited about her. But Jamie, I think what I'm going to do now. I don't think. This is the one. Okay, this was her actually risk off. Yeah, this was on the 25th, right? Tuesday.
Yeah.
This was on Tuesday, and yeah. So look at the amount of shorts. And once again, you're seeing. I remember I slid this in there for this reason. Downward momentum. Wait for the 8. When you start seeing that, guys, and the kind of winning percentages and the kind of profit factors these shorts are exhibiting, they throw up a few warning signs to me as what could be coming around the corner. But at the same time, I'm still I think a lot ahead, but I still preach react. React to it, because the overall market, they're hanging in there, but boy, I'm seeing a lot of shorts by Holly put on lately, and a lot of winning shorts. So with that said, I'm not going to go to that screen yet. I'll save that for Scotty. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jamie, and if you want to pull that up, and we can start talking about a few of the great trades that she had today.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just go ahead and flip it over to me.
And, okay.
Let me know when you can see my screen here.
I can see it.
All right. So before we move along to start looking at the individual trades and strategy performance, just kind of want to bring the old performance chart over and just give everyone a peek at the gap just keeps on getting wider between Holly's performance and the SPY. Here we can see the risk off profit 318, and just kind of want to point out the little genesis here that we had above this line here. Holly, number one, is not quite a year old. I think she's going to be 10 months old at the end of October. So at the end of this year, she'll be officially 1 year old. And boy, what a lot of improvement we have seen since we implemented our additional risk management protocols. And what I'm talking about there, it can all be seen right here in the exit reason column. And I know we have a good bit of non-subscribers in here, and even some of the basic subscribers might not be familiar with this, so I always like to go over it real quick here. And that is the reason that Holly will exit a trade. When we first brought Holly online back here, there were only 3 reasons why she would exit a trade. Either the stop loss was triggered, or we had a profit target trigger, or the timed hold expired and she simply exited the trade. But, we started noticing before too long, Holly would be up nicely in a trade. Let's just say she's up 50 cents, but the stop loss had not been triggered, or the profit target. So she's just relying on that timed hold, and by the time the time hold expired, well, then she was, instead of up 50 cents, down a quarter, right? So that's one thing that will not do you much good, whether you're a robot or a human being, is if you're letting winners turn into losers. So enter profit save and reduce risk. So now we have 5 different reasons. So there's a direct correlation, as you can see, when we implemented that technology, what we're getting here. And in addition to that, the AI system has continued to learn for 10 months, and it's very exciting, because if we're achieving this type of results in less than a year period, boy, next year should be very, very interesting moving forward. So the good news is we've all got front row seats, and I know I get more and more emails and I get more and more messages every day that say, I'm in this Holly trade. I've been doing this with Holly. I've been interacting with Holly. Thank you. And I only assume that those are going to start coming in more and more frequency. So for those of you who have embraced this methodology that we're repeating and repeating, good job. And for those of you who are new, listen up, because what we have to show you makes a lot of sense, and one of the beautiful things about it is the simplicity of interacting with Holly. Okay, so let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort all of Holly's trades by risk off, but we're not going to jump into that pool just yet. First, we're just going to take a quick peek at the strategy panel. So here are all of the strategies that showed up for the starting team this morning. And I remember looking late last night. I'm like, okay, Holly should be done. I'm gonna jump in here and I'm gonna see what's queued up for tomorrow's session. And my eyes got kind of wide. I'm like, wow, 14 strategies for tomorrow's trading. And let's just kind of, for a visual here, for this type of, of course the day had not occurred yet. And we're looking at here and here and these little wiki bars on the day, and I'm like, wow, that seems kind of like a heavy load for the day that might be coming. But once again, that was just me making an assumption. But could not be more pleased with the way that this 14 strategy complement played out today. So I'm just going to resort by the trades so we can see, obviously, cuts like a knife. Most active strategy with 15 trades. And by the way, we had 41 trades. And as Andy was alluding to earlier, only 14 of the 41 were long, leaving 27 trades today were short trades. And of course, most every strategy came out green today. Pushing through resistance, a long strategy. No surprise that it spit out 2, hit 1 for 50% win rate. It was only down 15 cents. A couple of the other longs actually clipped out a little bit, but as we can see, most of the punch was derived from these two short strategies here. So, of course, I know that everybody out there today was going, it's a choppy day. I'm not getting the follow through on buying these bounces today. Gee. I wonder how somebody trading with statistical probability on their side did today. Well, here we have it right here. So on a day where everybody is talking about choppiness and no follow through to the longs, well, no surprise there was no follow through to the longs, because all the stats pointed to the short side today. So just looking at the way I've got this sorted, I'm going to have to pretty much hog up the whole screen here just to be able to view the total number of trades today. But on this risk-off column, it just doesn't get much prettier than this. A nice little Christmas tree pattern with very little red at the bottom and a lot of green at the top. So risk-off, simply stating Holly's obeying all of her entry and exits, her timed holds, obeying that rule set to the T. And just the accuracy alone today, as we can see with risk off, not a lot of huge winners. Now, if we kind of resort by profit percent, and of course, this is the one that sticks out at the top. Hey, let's say you're not a long trader. Well, there was even something still here for you today if you'd like to trade small stocks and go long. This little Kayla here came out, an hour and 20 into the open. We'll just take a look at that one before we get into all the shorts here. But hey, if you like to trade small stocks to the long side, I mean, number one, look at this stock. Look at the way it normally trades. But guess what? Today, when it actually moved, you got the heads up on it. Because, most people, unless you like to engage in some type of sadomasochism, why would you ever want to trade that stock unless you're some kind of, we won't get into what kind of trader you are if you like to trade this, but it's not the type of trading that you really want to get into. But the most interesting thing about this trade is that Holly called it today, and it actually moved. We can see right here her 235 entry price, and then whoosh, right up to the top here, a little sideways action, and then even one leg higher, and that's a stock that typically never moves. So once again, kind of off the beaten path of what Holly does, but a very interesting observation here. You know, normally I'd never even look at trading a stock like this, but when Holly speaks, sometimes you just got to throw a little bit of caution to the wind and go, okay, why is Holly speaking? Well, 5-day bounce is issuing this trade. Well, let's go take a look. 5-day bounce. I know coming into the session I've got 66.7%, almost a 67% chance of that thing going my way. So really that's as cut and dry as you can get right off the bat. So we've got statistical weight on our side, and when we have statistical weight on our side, things that don't normally happen. That includes reducing it down to just winning on an intraday trade. Because Andy, you know the stats as well as I do. You know, the stats of day trading and succeeding are one of the heaviest factors that propelled us into the direction of creating an artificial intelligence to assist traders.
Sure, absolutely.
97%, you know, is what the general rule of thumb is if you set out to try to make money consistently trading. You know, and when we talk about trading, it's really no distinction between intraday trading and the swing trading, because anybody that says one is easier than the other, well, I just don't know about that, because overnight risk is something that you cannot quantify. So there's always risk involved with more return, and of course a gap is nice when it goes our way. Sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it does not. But anyway, not to get too far off the beaten path here, let's do the fun thing and keep looking at these trades here. So a nice assortment on the risk-off tree here. And then, you know, Holly's just obeying her rules, taking her money when, you know, the time stop kicks in or the profit save. You know, we kind of say, you know, Holly's like a human in the fact that the longer she's in a trade, you know, the more anxious she gets to get out of it, and that is the profit save functionality. We've built in a time decay mechanism, so the longer she's in the trade, the more apt she is to get out if things get a little volatile on the micro scale. You know, not necessarily things that we can pick off. You know, sometimes we can see the wicks involved, but let's just pull up ORI, for example, which was a short. One. Yeah, this is just a beautiful trade. Cuts like a knife was the strategy. We can see coming into the session almost a 60% win probability. And even this one underperformed today, but still spit out some hugely profitable trades, not only on the risk off, but as we always like to say, we have our trading hats on. We can read charts. Holly still, you know, we always like to joke around and say, Holly's no good at reading charts. Well, she can read charts. She just views them in a much different spectrum than we do, because obviously her strong suit is statistical probability. So first and foremost, we get the signal from Holly right here, and I'll just draw a line across. Holly's like, hey, you know, the stats are telling me ORI might be a good short play. We've got some good statistical weight behind it. Of course, when we see this play here, first thing that my human eyes go to, Andy, is this little area right above it. And obviously there's a seller in the stock. We can see that, right? Seller's in full force in the first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Then things kind of stabilize here. Taking a little breather, right? Seller's taking a breather.
Doctor.
Seller's taking. I was like, are you? I didn't know if I was supposed to hear that or not.
No, I thought you weren't. Thought I hit the mute.
Okay, so seller's taking a break. Now it's doing a little sideways dance. And ladies and gentlemen, we can call this a micro consolidation. We can call it a consolidation. But what is a consolidation? It's a period of time where buyers and sellers are equal. That's pretty much it. All right. So we're getting the signal right here, and all this has already happened, and these are things that I like to see. And then, of course, it's coupled with statistical weight. So I'm like, okay, I'm with you. So boom, we pop in whether you're, whatever your beginning lot size is. Some people it's 100, some people it's 200, some people it's 400. But in any case, just a beautiful entry here. And when we see on the ORI trade here, Holly on the time stop, books are 32 cents, right? But if we're in this trade with Holly, and then the time stop, comes out, and let's see, let's just kind of track it down there. ORI, her exit price, 1744. So she gets out about right here. If I just put an arrow here, like so, Holly gets out. Now, if we're in this trade and we see Holly's making an exit, we have to ask ourselves, okay, well, Holly is a programmed machine, and we've taught her to basically scalp because she has to be back in cash at the end of every day. But we're in the trade, we see that she is exiting, but this is where we can talk about going risk on a trade-by-trade basis, because really, it's easier, of course, for myself and Steve and Andy and anybody that's been doing this for decades, to go, okay, well, there's not really a reason to get out because the trade is going our way. So we see Holly exit here, and we're like, okay, I tell you what, I'm in 200. I'm going to go ahead and cash out my first 100. I'm going to cover that. I'm going to book that profit. I'm going to set my stop loss for the remaining 100. Whatever your preference is. Some people will do a trailing stop. Other people will risk out all the way back to a flat. So worst case scenario, they made the money on the first lot. If they flat the second lot, that's fine because they're taking more risk. We are taking more risk to try to make more than Holly did on her risk off profit. And as you can see, if you made that decision on this one, it paid off quite handsomely. And we can even take the liberty of figuring out, if a stock is moving and we've identified the seller early, which we have right here. Holly identified it early. Look, selling. This would scare a lot of human beings. Well, I just see it came down from 1850 in 20 minutes down to, here. I mean, I don't want to buy it here. It might bounce. Well, fortunately, we have Holly saying statistically weighted here. The seller's been identified. The first rest period was here. We're getting short here. And now look what happens when we get into that trade. Now, of course, when there is a nice controlled seller like this little fractal range break pattern can repeat itself as it did here. So once we're attuned to this stock by Holly, if we know what to look for, we can really amp up the returns. And we can make additional alpha that we cannot see in any of these reports. And then, once you get used to this, I mean, this one was really an exception because the pattern repeated itself a couple of different times. And when you can identify a stock like this and you can really maximize it, one of the hardest parts, whether you're new or kind of intermediate as a trader, is learning when to add to a position or when to keep pressing it, versus going, okay, I think the move is done. And of course, we can help figure out our expectations by consulting the daily. So, first and foremost, we would have been thinking to ourselves, well, here we are, we're pushing through here, and of course, this was a huge move, but you can see as it goes through one, the next one, the next one, the next one, that tells you, okay, well, it's pushing through all these levels and it's not getting out. If it does get to this part right here, what do we call that, Andy? We call that a lot of air.
That's right.
A lot of void in there.
Void,
right?
That's absolutely.
So when you see this coupled with the Holly play, I mean, it's just the symphony of good information, and it's reaffirmation on several different time frames. It's just, I mean, you're hard pressed to find a trade like this, and This is a beautiful trade, and it was found on a day where the general consensus of the populace that's viewing the markets is saying, I'm about to throw in the towel, I better just hang my hat up and come back tomorrow But if we're
Yeah.
using statistical probability, I mean, this is the classic example. This is why we're doing this. This is why we made this in the first place, and to see it working so pristinely is exciting and fun, and it makes everybody happy. And from the emails that I'm getting and the chats that I'm getting, that people are going, it took me a while, but I'm getting this. I'm trading with Holly, and it's really making a huge difference, not only in my mental game, but in my trading performance as well.
Hey, can I add something to that? Would you pull back
Sure.
up the AI strategy window? And guys, when you see profit factors, like if you look on this, this is cuts like a knife, right? This.
On the ORI, the ORI was cuts like a knife, correct?
Yeah. Okay. So take a look at that. When you see a winning percentage of right around 60, or actually you're probably not going to see anything too much below 59 or 58 in here. But when you see that and you see a profit factor of 3.6, what that's kind of telling you guys is, without getting into the formula or anything, but basically that your risk reward is really good, because what it is, your average winner has to be so much more than your average loser to get a profit factor of 3.6 when you're only winning, a little less than 60% of the time. Am I right there, Jamie? I think it's
right. And
yeah.
if we look at the smart stop that was issued for the ORI trade right here, 40 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've taught Holly to scalp to preserve capital, so she makes her 32 cents. But just looking at the end factor on the risk on, a 3-to-1 would be $1.20. Not that too far away.
Right.
I mean, not that far away. $1.11 versus $1.20. So that's that's just the odds kind of showing you, yeah, that's what a 3-to-1 or 3.6 profit factor is that the higher you get on that profit factor,
Mm-hmm.
2 means your potential profit should be twice what your risk is.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get too caught up on that trade. It was just so pristine that that is the epitome of what we're trying to achieve here. And a couple of these other ones really did keep on a rolling, like EVH. I mean, this one is so pretty too. I mean, such a beautiful chart. So here's Holly saying, you know what? I'm thinking about having me a piece of this one right here, this EVH. I mean, right at the top of the little range that had been established, right? Now, this just also happens to coincide with what you were saying earlier, failed breaks. I'm sure there were probably some people out there going, this thing's getting close to breaking out, but as you can see, it never did. It topped right there. Then all of a sudden, Holly's like, yeah, this one I think you should short. Now, this one was putting on the brakes, which coming into the session was 62.3%, weighted. And let me pause right here, everyone. This pattern here that you're seeing, I can't really put my finger on it, but I assure you, it was all over the place in many other stocks today. Now, did they all do what this one did? Probably not. Why did this one do what it did? Well, we had statistical weight behind us. I mean, what a nice entry, 22.10, pretty much at the high. We get a little bit of choppiness up here, going sideways, and then, whoosh, we get that downward movement. Now, once again, Holly, let's see, I lost my place here, EVH. Holly's going to book her profit, 30 cents on one of the, the reasons that she gets out of the trade here. Time stop. She's going to book her 30 cents. But if we're in that trade and we're down here and we're profitable and this thing's going sideways, Andy, I'm going to ask this question to you and you can answer. Is there a reason to get out of the trade?
No.
Exactly. Exactly. So, in order to satisfy a couple of the demons that plague people like us, the greed demon and the fear of not making money, the greed and the fear, well, there's an easy cure for that. Once again, you're in 200 from here. You get down here, you see Holly taking her profit. Okay, I'm going to book my profit on 100. I'm going to put the other 100 at a stop loss back to break even. And by taking a little bit more risk, you get paid. I mean, you could have even put your stop right up here. You don't have to use break even, but you tighten it down. or even a few pennies out here. On this one, you could have got away with murder on this one because it never really bounced significantly. And if you can start identifying these little patterns on top of the statistical probability and that weight that Holly brings to the fight, you will start noticing a difference in your trading results. There's a big difference between 30 cents and $1.50. With basically, we can't ever say no risk, but about as small of a risk as you could ever incur trading stocks in the market on a daily basis. Simple as that. And ladies and gentlemen, we could just keep doing this all day because you see the blotter here. Of course, I'm looking over at the clock here. We've got about 10 minutes left. So the bottom line is this. What you're seeing here is a work in progress, and we're trying to be as transparent as we can throughout this whole bringing Holly online, making it available to the public. And let me just reiterate. This is the only AI system that is available to the public for interacting with the U.S. markets, and we keep improving it. We've got some exciting new things. The developers gave me a peek into some of the new functionality that we're going to be releasing here. I don't want to get slapped around by the developers by saying a time that might not be accurate, but I think in the next 30 days we're going to see some really cool additions to the AI. That reiterate everything that we're discussing in these trade arounds and in these setups. And we'll have a separate window that starts feeding you all this information. So it should make it easier to follow the AI moving forward, which is always a good thing. Andy, before we move on away from Holly, any trades that you wanted to point out here?
Oh, you know what? I think like you said, we could go on. I just want to reiterate, guys. I'm not just pounding the chest because I work for Trade Ideas, but I've used this this software for 13 years now, and it just keeps getting better and better. And when I see days like today, when I know how difficult it is, and I'm seeing the Twitter sphere, whatever, just people whining and complaining about the market, and you got a great intelligence, spitting you out statistical probability trades, and performing like she is doing, like she did today, where you just had a handful of small losers and the rest winners. It's very impressive, and we're really excited about it, and I just want to want you guys to know. I mean, boy, if you're out there and you're straddling the fence, come in. Give us 30 days. Give us 30 days to prove ourselves, and I guarantee you, you're going to walk away happy when you see, everything we have to offer and all the training and education that we give, and plus you get a one-on-one training from a professional trader and somebody who knows the software really well. That's got a $99 value itself. So I think Scott's going to probably, give you a really good deal coming up. We'll see, but it's you really owe it to yourself if you want to try out and be serious about trading to get everything we're so excited about here at Trade Ideas. And,
Leon just told us about the Groupon showing the 4-cent loser and then showing a stop loss, and we're aware of that. That was just a little glitch in the database. Should be corrected tomorrow. So that's going to be a little 25-cent or a 21-cent variance, I believe. So we are aware of that, and everything should be corrected tomorrow. Thank you for pointing it out, Leon. So anyway, before we push on, just wanted to pull up this one, ITGR, another one where Holly booked an 18-cent profit, but there was another, probably 40 cents on the table, and just a complete downward movement here,
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because, those banging on resistance, knocking on resistance, man, those are some of the better trades, just totally contrarian. It just... So many people are looking, oh man, look at this chart, triple top, about to break out, But Holly's saying, no, not what my data reads here.
Oh yeah, and Leon was I kind of misunderstood him here, but we can see the Groupon was another great trade around opportunity from a Holly generated trade here. Let's just pull that one up real quick before we segue on into the discount codes. So, once again, another great trade around opportunity as we're already in this trade here, and then we see that breakdown pattern or that range break pattern forming again. It's just like we've seen this song or seen this song and dance, seen this movie over and over again, and that's how we learn, by seeing, and the next time we see it and we react. It's as simple as that. So I believe it's time for Mr. Scott to come in and tell everybody how they can benefit from coming to the webinar today and listening to what Andy and I have to say. So Scott, if you're ready, I think we're ready for you.
Yeah. So because it's Halloween season, we got a little extra discount going on between now and Halloween. Jamie's going to pull up a slide for you, and you're going to want to use that URL there. Just go to tradeIdeas.com/price, and then use that code either to subscribe to Trade Ideas or to upgrade, and it'll save you 20% off the first month or year of premium, or 15% off your first month or year of standard. So I'm sure you all already know the premium version is the version that has access to Holly the AI, unlimited backtesting with the odds maker, the shareable price alerts, and a bunch of other goodies like RBI, GBI windows. Both versions, though, come with a complete, a full 1 hour training session with Andy, Jamie, or Steve. And it's a great way to get started. So if you consider the $99 a month standard version or trial, that includes a full hour of training, and you can use it, Trade Ideas, along with the trading room, going ahead and following what the guys are doing on there, looking at the scans. It's a great training tool and to use to upgrade before you get into premium, or jump it right into premium. $188 a month or $1888 a year is a fantastic price as well, and you can save an additional 20% on that when you upgrade now using that code. So the code is case sensitive. You're going to want to kind of watch your fingers how you type and make sure you hold down that shift key so it's all caps. If you go to the handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface and click on the plus to expand it, you're going to find a PDF download right there that has this slide and also our contact slide. So this session's been recorded. It'll be up on YouTube by tomorrow morning. Just go ahead and ask any questions you have. Send it to info@trade-ideas.com. Or you can follow Jamie at QuantBot. Steve Gomez is at TodayTrader. Those are the Twitter handles. We're Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook.com. And if you have any billing or subscription questions, that 619 phone number is a great place to reach us during normal business hours, but technical questions should be routed to the info@tradeIdeas.com email. Thanks, y'all. We will have a normal webinar schedule again next week, so when you get the invites for those, go ahead and sign up, and we'll talk to you then. Have a good weekend. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.